Hey guys, welcome back to my Practically Imperfect Life. If you're joining for the first time, welcome to my channel. My name's Abby and I'm a homeschooling mom of two high school age students. Now my oldest is going to be an 11th grader this upcoming school year, and she's going to be taking a course from Guest Hollow, and it is their Government Econ and Personal Finance course. Now if you're not familiar with Guest Hollow programs, they are really unique. I mean, they at first glance will seem kind of like a literature-based course. And yes, they do have a lot of books and literature that are built into the course, but it is so much more than that. I mean, those courses will bring in videos, hands-on activities, website activities, documentaries, full-length movies, just tons of different things that your student can do to kind of get like an immersive learning experience. And this course is also pretty unique in that it's covering 3 different subjects: government, econ, and personal finance. Whereas, most traditional curriculums, you have the government course or you have the econ course and the personal finance, like it's all separated. But here they've kind of integrated it all together into this 1-year-long course. Now, I've had a couple of people comment on my curriculum choice videos and on the introductory video I did for this course back in, February, asking how I do lesson planning for that. How do I take the schedule is what Guest Hollow calls it, which lists all of the different options for each week, and how do I determine what it is we're actually going to do? So I thought I would just take you along and show you how I'm doing my lesson planning for the first couple of weeks. I like to kind of plan ahead about 4 to 6 weeks at a time for these types of courses. So I have an understanding of what it is that's coming up, what it is my students are doing. I can look at different things and try to get it to, a manageable amount, because they do provide you with just so many different options that, unless you want to spend hours and hours a day, you can't possibly do it all. You got to kind of pick and choose. And so I thought I would just take you through the process and show you my lesson planning for the first couple of weeks of this course. Okay, so when I get started with my lesson planning for this course, I'm going to need, first of all, the schedule. Now, I choose to print out the schedule. I printed out the whole thing, and then I went ahead and I spiral bound it with my cinch. But I like to have it printed because I make a bunch of notes on here. I'll cross off things I'm not going to do. I will mark things that we are going to do. I'll make notes of pages and links and yada, yada, yada. So I want to have a printed copy. That's just my personal preference. I also have the copy of the student workbook. Now, I've printed out the whole thing for my daughter for the year, spiral bound it again here at home. And this is going to be so I can look at here and see which pages in here kind of go along with which daily assignments. That sometimes helps me determine which books do I want her to read, or which assignments am I okay with her skipping or, thinning out. Then I also looked through the schedule and I started to make note of the different books that are going to be read each week. So for example, week 1, we're going to have assignments from Lesson for the Young Economist. That is a free PDF book. I could have purchased it, but there's a free PDF version. So we're going to go ahead and use that. We're also going to do the online textbook, but then as far as physical books, I have Whatever Happened to Penny Candy. And then in the optional reference books, there's How Money Works, the Economics book, and the People's Guide to the Constitution. So I went through weeks 1 through 4, and I just made a note of the different books that are going to be touched upon. And I've pulled those off of the bookshelf here. So that way I can look at the different reading assignments and try to get a feel for, just how long that's going to be. Or if something is assigned, like, for example, chapter 1 of Whatever Happened to Penny Candy is assigned, well, how long is that? Is that something that can be read in 15 minutes? Or is that something that's got to be read over the course of an hour? That will, again, help me determine which assignments am I going to keep and which ones am I going to skip. So putting the books aside, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to open up the student workbook, and I'm going to start looking at these assignments and get a feel for which things they go with. Now, Guest Hollow is pretty good about labeling their workbook pages as far as where that information can be found. So, for example, on this first page, it tells me right near the top that this is going to come from the online textbook. Now, I do intend for her to do all of the online textbook reading, because that's going to cover a lot of the government part of this course. And I can see that for reading chapter 1, this page is something that she's going to fill out as she's doing that reading. And then it's going to continue on to the next page and on to the next page after that. So that is, quite a bit that's covered just on section 1.1, what is government? So if I look at the schedule here, I can see that section 1.1, what is government, is assigned on Monday. And then she technically has like Monday, Tuesday to get it done. So I'm going to make a note here of which workbook pages go along with this assignment. So that was workbook pages 10, 11, 12, and then I think 13. So I'm just going to make a note there. So that's going to be workbook page 10 through 13. Because when I am putting in her assignments for her as far as what I want her to check off and do, I can say, you know, read section 1.1 of the online textbook and do workbook pages 10 through 13. And I will go ahead and I will do that for the first 4 weeks. Is I'm just going to look through the student workbook here, and then I'm going to match those assignments up with the reading assignments on the schedule. So for example, page 14 tells me this is from Whatever Happened to Penny Candy, chapter 1. So that is assigned also on that Monday. So page 14, let's see. And then chapter 2 starts on page 14, goes to 15. Chapter 3 starts at the bottom of 15. So again, I'm just going to write in the workbook pages onto my schedule so I know what's going to be done on what day. Now, you don't necessarily have to do this. I mean, you could just tell your student, hey, do the workbook pages as they go along with your assigned reading and kind of have them take charge of that. I don't know. I'm one of those people. I like to be very specific in the assignments that I'm giving my kids. So I've just made those notes on there. So what workbook pages are going with which assignments. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to fill that out for the first 4 weeks. Just again, looking at the workbook, writing in the pages, and making sure I have that all marked. Once I'm done going through the workbook and adding in the page numbers to the schedule, the next thing I want to do is look at the length of the different reading assignments. Now, typically, if there are workbook pages that go along with a reading assignment, I will go ahead and I will like automatically assign that because I want them to get, you know, full use of all of the different aspects of this course. So using the workbook to its fullest. So I will go ahead and I will just kind of flip through and look at the length of these different reading assignments and get a feel for them. So Whatever Happened to Penny Candy, for example, on Monday, it's chapter 1. And chapter 1, okay, starts on page 19. And it ends on page 21. So that's pretty darn short. So that should be no problem for her to do in a day. And chapter 2, it looks like it's probably equally as short. Starts on page 22, goes to page 27. So it's a little bit longer, but that's still not too bad. So I'm just going to take a peek at it. I'm not going to write down the length of it on here unless I saw an assignment that looked like it was quite long. And then I might make a note like, hey, this is longer assignment, maybe split up over 2 days kind of thing. So for example, that's one of those things. Now, under the reference books, these aren't necessarily like key books that you absolutely have to assign, but I do like to look at the reference books and see, you know, how helpful do I think that resource is going to be for that week. Now, I already know for sure I'm going to have her read the People's Guide to the United States Constitution because I think everybody should read about the Constitution. So I know for sure I'm going to be assigning those pages. So I'm going to just go ahead and star that because I know we're including those things in there. And you can see like the assignments are like 2 to 3 pages a day. It's nothing crazy. I mean, she should be able to read 2 to 3 pages of this book pretty quickly. Other books, though, like How Money Works, it has a few pages assigned. So if I pull out How Money Works, of course, it's at the bottom of the stack. Okay, so one of the assignments on week 1 is pages 12 through 13. So I'm just going to flip through that and take a look. So you can see this book looks like it's going to be, I don't know, it kind of reminds me of a DK book. It's not a DK book. Oh, it is a DK book. Well, that would be why. All right. Well, so it's going to be a lot of pictures and infographics is what my guess is for this book. So, I mean, I think she could definitely kind of glance at this. I don't think I'm going to expect her to read like all of it, but DK books are really good at putting a lot of information into a condensed format. You're getting a lot of info in just what you see here. And I do think that illustrations and things like that are kind of a nice change. When you have a literature heavy course where you're doing a lot of reading, it can be nice to have some, these infographics and things. So again, I'll just kind of look through and see, do I think it'll be helpful? Since it looks like this is going to be kind of more of a glance and quick read, I will go ahead and I will make a star there. And I'm just going to tell her to, kind of give it like a quick survey. That's kind of what we call it when, I want her to take a look at it and kind of flip through and glance and read a few things on the pages, but she doesn't necessarily have to read every single thing on every single page. The other book that is listed on here as a reference book is the economics book. And I have that one as well. And let's see, like it has pages 10 through 19. See, there's an introduction. Now this one seems like it's going to have quite a bit more reading to it. And not that having more reading is bad, but, do I necessarily want her to read all of it? Probably not. I mean, she's already going to have quite a bit of reading from the other books, so we might skip this book for this week, and maybe on other weeks it'll be something I will have her read. I don't think I need to have her do introduction and basic trading, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cross that off. I do think this page here on property rights might be a good one for her to do. So I'm going to go ahead and star that one, but I think we're going to go ahead and skip markets and morality. So again, I'll just kind of go through and I'll mark off things that I don't think that we're going to do, and I will make a star next to the things that we are going to do. And that covers the books on week 1. Now, that's not all that they have listed here. So you can see next up, we have a list of a whole bunch of activities and printables. Now the Catan board game, we're not doing that. So I'm going to cross that off. But they do have assignments from the iCivics website. So this is a free website you go in and you register for with like your email address. It has a ton of really cool things on there. I played around with it a bit when I did the intro video for this course. So there's usually like some reading and there's like printable worksheets and things like that. I don't intend to do every single iCivics lesson that is listed in here because I don't want the course to be too overwhelming. What I plan to do is kind of look for the one that I feel like is most pertinent to what she's reading during that week, or maybe introduces something that's not already being covered in some of the reading. So this week, week 1, like one activity is foundation basics. What's the relationship between government and power? How did the concepts of authority, legitimacy, and sovereignty influence this relationship? There is one on John Locke and how his ideas and writings influenced founding fathers. And then there is philosophically correct. What exactly is the ideal government? Let's see. Let some of history's leading philosophers give you their take in this government philosophy lesson. Okay. Well, I can tell you she will not be interested in philosophy very much. But I do think this one on foundation basics might be the one to do for this week. Because, I mean, so much of understanding government is really understanding who is supposed to have the power. And our government is one where the power is supposed to lie with the people. So I think that that's going to be the one that we're going to do. So I'm going to go ahead and star that one. And I will go onto the iCivics website and I will, print off the worksheets and things like that and just make sure that I have a good understanding of the assignment, before I give it to her. But that's all I'll need to do to prep for the iCivics part. So the next part of the course is video options. Now they do give a breakdown of either shorter videos or full-length videos. And you can see here that there are these symbols next to the video titles. So these will match up with reading assignments. So if it's got this symbol next to it, it kind of goes along with what's being talked about and whatever happened to penny candy. That can be a way of, kind of thinning the herd in terms of options if you wanted to. I mean, maybe you feel like if just doing the reading assignment is enough, then you don't need to watch the videos. Or if you watch the videos, you don't need to do the reading assignment. Again, totally up to you how you choose to customize this course. I like to have a little bit of both, but I don't want to have too many duplicates. Just looking at the video titles, for example, I can see that there's a video called Barter, and then there's one called Money versus Barter. I don't really think we need 2 barter videos. So I'm going to go on to YouTube. I'm going to check these links out. Now, what I will do is I will pull up this schedule. I have a PDF version of the schedule on my computer. And on that PDF, all of these are live links. So I can click on it. It'll open it up in my browser, and I can take a look at the video. I usually will go in and I will get all of the videos open, and I'll look at the length of them. So, if one video is like 20 minutes long and the other one is 5 and they're covering the same thing, I might go with the 5-minute video. It just kind of depends on how many things are suggested for a day. But I will make a note in here of the length of time each of these videos are. And then I will sit there and I will mark out the ones that I'm not going to do for that week. And then the ones that we are going to do, I save to a playlist for her. So she can go into that playlist for the week and be able to see all of them. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get this pulled up here on the computer, and we'll start marking in the length of these videos. Okay, so you can see here, I've gone ahead and I've marked in the rough length of time for the videos. I round up to the nearest minute to keep it simple. So I've got about 8 minutes of videos listed on Monday. There's about 27 minutes worth of videos for Tuesday, 8 minutes for Wednesday, 5 minutes for Thursday, 4 minutes for Friday. So I just kind of glancing, I think Tuesday is the day that we need to do some working for. Obviously, like I said, we're not going to do 2 videos on bartering. And when I look at the 2 videos, this one is a Schoolhouse Rock video, and the other one is a little more of an explanation video. I mean, just kind of flipping through it and seeing how the video kind of appears. I feel like she's probably gonna prefer the one that's not the Schoolhouse Rock video. That's just knowing my daughter and her preferences. So I'm gonna go ahead and close that one. I'm gonna take that barter one off of there. And then looking at some of the other ones, like there's this thinking like a economist. Let's see what it says. It says this episode is about scarcity guns and butter trade-offs, factors of production, difference between macro and microeconomics. Since she's just getting going with economics, I feel like maybe we should go ahead and keep this video. It's like 7.5 minutes, but knowing the difference between macro and microeconomics to me is an important thing. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to keep that video. So I'm going to star that on the workbook. I know we're going to do that. I also am going to keep this one on what if you could trade a paperclip for a house. It's a TED Ed video. The TED Ed videos are typically really well done, and they're, interesting to listen to. So even though it's a longer video, I'm going to go ahead and keep it. And then I'm going to go ahead and keep these other ones. Now, what I am going to do, however, is I'm going to shift a video over in the schedule because I don't really think she needs to sit and watch half an hour worth of videos. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pull this last video, thinking like an economist, and I'm going to go ahead and push that to Wednesday. So I'm just going to draw an arrow. So I know that we're going to do that video on Wednesday, and that is marking out the videos. Now there are full-length videos that are listed. Sometimes it's a movie or a documentary. It's saying that, the one suggested for this week is Real Life 101. We don't do the full-length videos very often, to be honest. We just don't. Occasionally, if it looks like it's a movie that we would like anyways, I will go and include that. But we're not going to do that. So I'm going to cross that off. And then the last little thing on that last page for week 1, above where it says reference books, there is a website where you can do this game called Build Your Stash, and you can do this kind of at any time. It is, like a mock preparing for your retirement kind of game. Like, it says you got 20 years to grow your wealth. Who will have the biggest stacks? So I might have her do this. I think this might be just a fun thing, but I don't think I'm going to assign it on any particular day. I think what I'll just tell her is like, hey, one day a week, go in to build your stacks and, spend 5 or 10 minutes on the website. I think that's how we will start it out, and we'll just see how it goes. Now, as I mentioned, the videos that we are going to do, I'm going to go ahead and I will create a playlist for her government course. I like to just do like one main playlist for the whole course, and then I'll put subfolders within that playlist for the different weeks. It's what I did for their other courses, like my mouse decides to work. Like you can see here, my son did geography last year. So I just have like the different weeks. And then when you scroll on the weeks, it shows you all of the videos for that week. So I'm going to do the same thing with her government course. I'm going to create a folder that says government econ, and then I'll have a subfolder for weeks 1 through 36. And that's how I do lesson planning for this course. And really, it's how I approach lesson planning for all of the Guest Hollow courses that we do. I pull out the books for the first couple of weeks. I get out the workbooks and the schedule, and I start making some notes. How long are the reading assignments? Does it look like it'll be a quick read or just something to glance through? What workbook pages should go on which days? Checking out the online activities and the videos, and just kind of narrowing down which ones I feel would be most appropriate for us to do on a week. I also find that by breaking it down into 4-week chunks, I'm not getting kind of burnt out on the lesson planning. I mean, it took me about 20 minutes to go through and like review the videos and review the books, just kind of making those notes in the schedule there. And that's with me having to stop and like shift the camera around and film and things like that. So by breaking it down into about 4 weeks at a time, I feel like I, have a good starting point. I know what it is that we're going to be, doing for those first couple of weeks. I feel like the number of assignments are manageable. And if we get into week 1, week 2, and it turns out that like, hey, I'm assigning too much or I'm not assigning enough, then I can tweak and make some edits to the last couple weeks of that chunk. And then I have, some new ideas on how to approach the second 4-week chunk of time. So anyways, if you found this video helpful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up before you go. If you have any questions on the Government Econ Personal Finance course, please feel free to leave a comment down below. I had a chance to take a really close look at all of the different elements of this course back over the winter when I was doing a review and introductory video for Guest Hollow. And I will link that video down below if you would like to check it out and find out more about this awesome new course. As always, thanks so much for joining me today, everybody. Happy homeschooling.